I'm Samantha Dam. Welcome to my Redefining Caregiving YouTube channel. Why did I call my book Redefining Caregiving? Because I went through an entire journey of caregiving since I was around 18 years of age up until 50 when I started writing the book. And I look back on my life and I realized so many times I was held back in caregiving or judged in caregiving, and it always came down to the definition of what caregiving is and what society thinks it is. And it's about time we stopped putting stereotypes on caregivers and expecting so much from them. It's not even, I don't even think the word caregiving is a good word for it. Giving, as if we're not already giving enough. That we're giving away care. Because it kind of makes it sound like it's for free. And it's not. It takes its toll on the caregiver. The caregivers pay the price. And that shouldn't be. Because caregiving is something that we all need help with. And we should be all doing it as a society. And society's not. In a whole, there's 53 million people taking care of people in 2021. I think it's like 53 million people. Probably, and now we're at about $500 billion worth of unearned caregiving is being given away. And so, yeah, pretty giving, huh? They care and they're giving. And so we need to do something about that. We need to turn that around. It shouldn't be that way. Everyone is responsible for everyone on this planet. Everyone, we're all here together. Most of us agree that we're in this together, that we need to support each other. And so I named my book Redefining Caregiving because I want to help with that. And I've always been a helper ever since I was a kid. Someone asked me the other day, they said, what do you do for a living? I'm like, well, for a living, since I was little, I took care of people. I just enjoy taking care of people. My mom married a man when I was 16. She married him when I was 12. And when I was 14, 15, he started becoming ill. He had a heart attack. He ended up having both legs amputated because he had blood clotting and he was on dialysis. And so I learned a lot about caregiving right from the start at home. And my mother worked, so I was the oldest, most responsible kid. So I got handed the responsibility of taking care of my stepdad quite a bit, most of the time. But even when I was younger, I was always trying to help people in the family more than anyone else was. So that's just who I am. I like to help the underdogs. I like to speak out and be advocates for people. I've done that my whole life too. So it made sense to write the book after I couldn't work anymore, because at the age of around 50, I had such physical pain in my body that I didn't even realize why I had it, because no one had diagnosed me with what I had been diagnosed with, and that is with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It's a collagen disorder, and Crohn's disease. So I went my whole life spending thousands of dollars at the doctors trying to find a solution, or what is the problem? I'm having so much pain. And so I couldn't work anymore. And people said to me, well, Sam, file for disability. Your doctors say you should file for disability. You have all your letters. And I just refused. I said, as long as I can keep talking, I can earn money somehow. And then I had to put that together. And the only way that made sense to me was either be a speaker. And I thought, well, to be a speaker, you have to have credentials. So I decided to write a book about caregiving. And so there it is. My book starts out at the beginning as an introduction. It's pretty harsh. It's the introduction to why I became a caregiver full time. My mom developed Alzheimer's the year I got a divorce in 2004. And she didn't just develop Alzheimer's and then come over to our house and let me take care of her. No, that couldn't have been the case. No, my mom did things differently. My mom was my best friend. I'm going to start out telling you that. She was always my best friend. I mean, we got along so well. And I was kind of like a mother to her. She looked up to me, but I also needed her support when I was married. She was always my support. She was there for every special event. So she was my rock, my emotional support rock. And when she got dementia, it was after a trauma. And so her brain just shut off. She couldn't cope. And it was so traumatizing that her memory got so bad. She lost her job. She couldn't function on her own. And she needed 24/7 care. My mom was only 59 at the time. So she really looked great. She was beautiful. She looked great. If you spend enough time with her, you'd figure out she had dementia. But in public, people would look at me like, why are you helping her? She can help herself. And this is how we started out. And my mom also is fiercely independent. And she did not want anyone taking care of her. In fact, I remember one time during that year when we were driving out to our house, she was in the van, and she says, in front of my kids, she says, I said, Mom, we really got to plan this thing. We got to figure out how to do this power of attorney, or we got to get things figured out because you need help. And she said, I don't want you wiping my someday. And I just thought, this is going to be fun. So I told her, well, then fine, I'll just let Joe Blow wipe your. And she's like, the kids are laughing and she's laughing, but really that sort of summarizes what happened after that. How do you summarize a story where, well, let me try. My mom got dementia. She was working as a in a pharmacy at a hospital, and had a friend, a coworker, who she wasn't really friends with until she got ill, and she started making friends with her. And this lady would come over, and like all my mom's friends would come in the house, and we'd always be friends with her friends. But this one lady wouldn't come into our house, and she never wanted to meet me. And I said, Mom, why isn't your friend, I'm going to call her Dory like I do in the book. Her name rhymes with Dory. And I said, well, what's up with this new friend of yours? And she says, she just doesn't want to meet anybody. She's kind of shy and all this stuff. She made excuses for her every time. Well, it turns out Dory was an abuser who was a lady. I don't want to call her a lady, but she basically did something horrific. And what it was is my mom needed my help, but she didn't want it. Okay, that's how she always was. So she asked me to take her to her doctor's appointments and things when she had the dementia. So I got her a CT scan. I was getting her meds figured out. I was trying to get her help. But every single time I go to the doctors with her, they would say, they'd kind of look at me like, why are you here? And I'm like, I'm her daughter. She wants me here. Well, she brought another lady in last time. Who's that? Her name is Dory. Mom, why would you bring Dory to your appointment? Well, you were busy. I don't want to put you out or whatever. No, Mom, I wasn't busy. I planned on going. Now, this happened quite a few times. And then what happened is I said, Mom, you need to put me down as your healthcare representative because I don't want to go through this anymore. I don't want to be showing up and looking like I'm forcing myself into your appointments. Your doctors are thinking I'm some kind of pushy daughter. And she said, okay, I'll make you my healthcare representative. So we did. And same thing kept happening. And I said, what is going on? And the doctor said, well, she's been in here already. She's had her healthcare representative listed as this name, the lady named Dory. And I went, what? So then I'd tell Mom, what's up? She'd forget. So she went back and forth 8 times. They allowed her to change her healthcare representative to Dory, then to me, then to Dory, then to me. And then it came to the point where my mom, let's just say, because dementia was getting worse, Dory was still in the picture. And I'm like, what is up with Dory? What does she want? I haven't met her yet. I can't meet her. And suddenly one day, pound on the door at my house. I bought a new house 20 minutes away from Mom. I bought a house with my daughters so we could homeschool and live, okay, without Mom coming over every day. She didn't want my help. I thought she has to do this on her own. I will help her if she needs help. And she still kept coming over. So, pound on the door. Open the door. It's a policeman handing me a restraining order. It was devastating. I was scared to death. I was so scared. And it's really funny. I'll tell you one little funny part about it was that a week before that, I'd been locked out of my house. And so I got in the garage with the opener, but I had to cut a hole in where the doorknob would be. And he handed me the restraining order, and he says, I said, oh my God, my mom. And I told him what was going on. And he goes, how'd you put that hole in the wall there? And I assumed he thought I punched the hole in the wall. I was like, this isn't good. This is not looking good. So I was just devastated. I told him about that. He left. I don't think he believed me. And I remember looking by the door, the front door, there was a box by the door of my mom's bills. I had taken him home with me so she wouldn't mess them up, because she'd call and she'd pay the bills. She'd try to take care of things and mess everything up when she was asking me to take care of it for her. And it was really bad. So I looked over there at that, and I just fell to the floor and just cried, knowing at that point I had to let my mom go. I couldn't, because I had a restraining order on me that basically was handwritten in Dory's, I'm assuming, Dory's handwriting, and my mom signed it. But it was Dory's handwriting. And I thought, how can they have not noticed there's a difference here? They didn't notice. And when I called the police, they said, you can't do anything about it. You have to go to court. When's the court date? Well, in the meantime, my mom's living on her own. She could become homeless at any time. I had to let it go. And I got someone with me as a witness to go down to the courthouse, and my mom didn't show up. And I was hoping she would have showed up so I could meet Dory, and so I could actually tell her, ask her what's going on, and explain to the judge what's going on, and so that they would do something with Dory. But it turns out they didn't show up. And so everything was dismissed. It wasn't on my record or anything because I didn't do anything. But my mom used to always say when we were kids, every time we had a problem, she'd say, put a restraining order on him. I knew that was her idea. But Dory had convinced my mom that I was trying to control her life. Like, you don't need help. Mom told me, she said, Dory said that I don't need your help. And I'm like, well, Mom, you're the one who asked for it. And yeah, you do. And she just didn't know. She was not aware. And her behavior was getting more and more aggressive. With dementia, they can get very ornery and also very suspicious and paranoid. And my mom also was diagnosed with a mental disorder, which causes that. So later on. Anyway, this isn't a story that's short, I can tell you that. It's not going to be short. And it's really hard for me to summarize because there's so much information that you'll want to hear, which is why I almost wrote a book about it. And I think I might still. But for now, I wrote the book about that as an introduction, and then I tell you all I've learned on my journey from caring for Mom. And I know this sounds this terrible, all this stuff that happened, and it was at the time, but I guess I just would like to interject this one thing, that things can be really, really bad. Things like that can happen, and something wonderful can come from it. And so many of the times I thought, how's this ever going to turn out? Well, it didn't get better, I can tell you that much. At that point, I went home, and I knew I had to let my mom go. Because I got a call from my aunt in Wisconsin, and I was like, I lost my mom, divorced, my dad died, and I'm going through menopause. I don't even know looking back at how I got through that. My kids survived too, actually. They turned out to be great kids. They're super confident and hardworking, and so there's a lot of grace. Thank you. Yes, thank you. What happened next? Mom got shipped off to Wisconsin. Dory, first of all, I found this out later, took her up into the woods, took her pills. My mom was scared. She told me this later. Very scared of Dory. And she took her money. She wanted to take her medication. My mom took pain medication. So that was her motivation. She knew she took pain medication. She knew that my mom had dementia. She was an easy target. And everyone told me before that Dory's a very messed up person. They're not even sure why she worked in the pharmacy, and that she has mental illness. Okay, so that was in the beginning. They told me that. And still, the police said without a guardianship, you can't do anything to help your mom. Which is why I wrote my book, because it's all in there at the end, telling you what you need to do as far as get your affairs in order, because this can happen to anyone. And I've met people where this has happened before. Things like this, where you can't save someone from harming themselves because you don't have a guardianship. Guardianship or POAs, and that's all another story. Today's story is about my story with Mom and why I wrote the book. So anyway, we ended up getting a call from my aunt. She says, your mom's here and she misses you and she wants to see you, as if nothing ever happened. And now also you need to understand that my family, when this all started to happen, I called my sister, I called my brother, I called everybody, trying to explain what Mom was going through, and nobody believed me. Mom looks great. What's wrong with you, Sam? You're going through a divorce. Are you stressed out? I mean, everything came back on me. And I was like, I'm not defending myself to you guys. My family always they always called me Little Miss Perfect, and they were always jealous of me. And it was almost like, they just didn't like me because I didn't want to live in an abusive family. I was the odd man out. And there's always one in a family. That was me. So they kind of thought it was fun to watch, I think. My sister actually, I remember one day saying, well, why would Mom say all those things? Like, I don't know, she's paranoid, she has dementia, and you haven't been here to visit, so you don't even know what that means. So I basically was on my own. I didn't have any family support. In fact, they had turned against me. And it was devastating to be in that situation. But we overcame. We went to go see my mom, knowing that I was not going to just see my mom, I was going to take her home. Because that's what she implied. So I went there and found out my mom had been leaving her apartment, and she was caught. She was downtown and she got arrested because she was carving 777 in her wrist. my mom was on the street downtown, got arrested, and my aunt wasn't there, didn't help her. And that wouldn't have happened if she was in my care. That wouldn't have happened. I would have been with her all the time. So when I heard that, I went there. She was in a mental hospital for a while, and I have this huge report about it. And I'm like, this is how they treat mental illness. People get arrested. That's not a whole nother podcast, right? A whole nother story. So my daughters and I took a train. That was quite a journey to Wisconsin and to get mom. And so we took her back home on the train, and that was another funny story I'll have to share with you, because mom would try to sneak off the train. We'd be sleeping, and she was on this side of me, so I'd block her from going off. And she would somehow, I don't know how she did it, she'd sneak over me without me waking up on this small train. And she'd try to get off the train by going to the very back where people sleep. And they were like, if you don't keep your mom under control, we're going to have to make you get off the train. And I'm like, so we have quite a few funny stories like that. Funny now, but at the time, very stressful. So we got mom home, and then what's funny is it was during the 2008 recession that I was going to put my house up for sale, and I knew I'd make like maybe $70,000 off my house. That was my investment after the divorce. I thought, I'm going to sell this house. It's going to be great. And then we didn't have any place to bring mom to, so I kept the house, and then the market crashed, and I lost all my money. So I basically lost quite a bit of money, and then to keep the house so we could keep mom there. And then when I sold the house, I didn't make any money at all. So I'm sure you probably have heard stories like this before. And so then what happened is mom came back and lived with us, and we were trying to find homes for her. The whole thing is pretty outrageous, because if you're a caregiver, you already understand a lot of the stress. And trying to find care, trying to get help without money. I learned all about Medicaid and how to get people on Medicaid, because they'll call you and do screeners. They'll send a screener out. How do you get a screener out? I mean, there's so much stuff that you learn as you go through something like this. And that was just my first learning experience. Then I decided, after putting her in a couple homes, they were abusive to her, we had to take her out. I finally just decided to open up a foster care home in my house, in my apartment. So mom lived with us, and I had a foster care home there. So that was nice, except for mom was crazy. And I'm not making fun of mom, but she was hallucinating. Her medications were off. That is a huge part of this very confusing journey, is just getting the right medication, getting the right doctors, getting doctors to listen to you. I remember when I took mom to one of her appointments to a psychologist and tried to get her medications situated, and just getting her in the car to go there was crazy. But I remember him saying, do you want me to put your mom in the hospital so we can sort out her meds? I said, if you don't put her in the hospital, would you put me in the hospital? Because don't make me go back home. And he's like, no, we'll get her in the hospital. So we had to put her in the hospital, and those are just some of the things we had to go through. And in the end, mom ended up finding a good care home that we found for her. And then I was able to start my life, like, what do I do for a living now? I hadn't gone to college, no time for that. I thought I would after the divorce, but then I didn't have the money to go to college. So I obviously was supposed to go through all that for a reason, and I know it now, and it's really amazing. I feel so good about the entire thing because of what it did for me and how it created me and the person that I am. I know I can depend on myself. I'm creative, so much self-discovery. My kids were watching the whole time, and everyone else was, and now they all see it. They go, wow, amazing. So I'm proud of myself, and it's okay to say that. I never used to feel like I could say that. So thanks for listening to the story. It's not done yet. There's other stories I will share later. But mom, once I got done taking care of mom, I knew I was a good caregiver. My neighbor saw me with her, and they referred me to someone as a caregiver, and she was my first client. And I went from there. I went and got a job in a care home, a few care homes, and found out how poorly caregivers are treated. Just terrible. And I quit and said, no, if I can be a caregiver, I can do it on my own. So I went and did that on my own. And I set the rules. I made the care plans the way I wanted to. It was very professional. I had insurance, and I would love to teach any of you who want to be a caregiver, self-employed caregiver, how to do it and do it well. So you can make good money and provide amazing service to people who need it the most. And you can do all that. There's a way to do it. I know because I did it. And but then I had to stop because I physically was in too much pain. And so I wasn't going to do the disability thing still. And so I wrote the book. And the book is to help people understand that you can go through the entire journey of caregiving and still always include yourself in the care you give. That's something I never even thought to do. I always felt like caregiving was self-sacrificing, and it should always be that way. And people would judge, and you always felt like you had to match up to someone else's standards of what you're supposed to do when they didn't know anything about what you were going through. So I hope I didn't bounce around a whole lot there. Dory never got in trouble for what she did. She'll get her own though. It goes full circle. The law of attraction is there, and Mom still is in a care home, and she's been 17 years now with dementia, and she knows who I am, but she can't respond or talk to anybody. And so I hope that ends for her, because it's very hard to watch someone go through that kind of state for that long. And so yeah, I guess this is where I can kind of summarize it. So now what I'm doing is my book. Not just the book. The book is just a short little guide, but it's a summary and a reminder, and you can carry it around with you. It starts out with my introduction, a little bit about Mom and my story, and then it goes into about the caregiver crisis that's coming our way in 2030 and all the way up to 2060. Got to know about that. Our society needs to be aware of it. And then the other thing is it's about communication, mindfulness. How did I make it through and not lose my mind? There's a lot of strategies in there. Also, at the end of there's a resource guide, and at the end of the chapters, there's one on how to plan. So like good information about deciding who will be your healthcare agent. And so I hope it helps. I just really hope that it helps. And I appreciate you following me. If you subscribe to my channel, because I'm going to start doing my podcast on here, and I want to also have videos that are just everyday ways that you can include self-care and love yourself and redefine what caregiving is for you, because caregiving is not what the world tells you it is, and it shouldn't be what anyone else tells you it is. It's what you decide it is for your family, and you don't owe anyone an explanation. And if people are not helping you, I can help you with that too. Okay, I want to thank you for watching, and I hope that you do the like thing.